Dating apps are supposed to connect people, but sometimes you end up meeting someone who isn't at all who they claim to be. These are true stories from people who thought they were meeting a Tinder match, but instead, they met something far darker. I matched with this girl named Marissa on Tinder. She was pretty, kind of shy in her photos, but we started talking and she actually seemed normal. We chatted for about a week before she invited me over to her place to hang out. I remember feeling nervous but excited as I drove there. It was one of those cool evenings where the sky was still faintly orange from the sunset, but the air had that chill that made you roll the window up. My stomach was in knots, part anticipation, part unease, because meeting someone from Tinder in person always carries that what if in the back of your mind. When I pulled up to her house, it was a small one-story place at the edge of town. The lights inside were on, but there weren't any cars in the driveway. The neighborhood felt oddly empty. Not a single person outside, no dogs barking, no traffic passing by. Just her little house surrounded by dark trees and silence. I texted her I was outside, and a minute later she opened the door and waved me in. She looked like her pictures, but something about her seemed off. She wouldn't make much eye contact and kept wringing her hands. Her movements were jittery, like she was hiding something or trying to calm herself down. I kept trying to tell myself it was just first date nerves. After all, I felt nervous too. But a small part of me couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. I brushed it off as nerves and followed her inside. The house smelled damp like mildew and it was eerily quiet. No TV, no music, just silence. The kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. My shoes made soft creaks against the wooden floor, and each step echoed more than it should have in a small house like that. We sat on the couch for a bit, and I tried making small talk, but she kept looking toward the hallway like she was distracted. Every time I'd ask her a question, her eyes would dart over my shoulder, as if she were waiting for something, or someone. My hands fidgeted with the zipper of my jacket as I tried to fill the awkward silence. Finally, she excused herself and said she'd be right back. She walked down the hall and out of sight. A few minutes passed, then I heard a faint sound coming from the floor beneath me, almost like whispering. At first, I thought it was my imagination. I held my breath and leaned forward, trying to pick up on it again. My palms were sweating, and I rubbed them against my jeans to dry them. I froze. Then from the corner of my eye, I noticed something. A door, half hidden behind the couch, leading down to a basement. It was open just a crack. A thin line of darkness stretched from that opening, and the whispering seemed to be leaking straight out of it. I stood up and slowly approached it, and that's when I heard it clearly. A man's voice whispering. Is he alone yet? My stomach dropped. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to get out. My chest tightened, and it felt like my legs didn't want to move fast enough. I backed away, grabbed my jacket, and headed straight for the door. Just as I reached it, Marissa appeared in the hallway. She smiled, but it wasn't a nervous smile this time. It was wide, unsettling. Her head tilted slightly, and her eyes looked sharper, almost predatory, like she knew exactly what I had just heard. Leaving already? She asked. I didn't answer. I yanked the door open, ran to my car, and sped off. My hands were shaking so badly on the steering wheel I almost veered off the road as I floored it out of that neighborhood. I unmatched her that night and blocked her number. I don't know who was in that basement, but the way she was acting, I'm almost certain I was never supposed to leave that house. I matched with this guy named Enrique. He seemed normal, had pictures with friends, a job listed, nothing weird. After a week of talking, he offered to pick me up and take me to a movie. Normally, I'd never let someone I just met online pick me up, but I was in my early 20s and a little too trusting. So, I agreed. From the start, something felt wrong. The car smelled like old cigarettes, and the inside was cluttered with random stuff. Clothes, fast food bags, even a baseball bat on the backseat floor. I hesitated before sitting down, my hand lingering on the door frame like my body was giving me one last chance to back out. But I pushed the thought away and slid inside. I asked if we were still going to the movies, and he just chuckled. He said he had something more fun planned. Then he merged onto the highway, heading away from town. I asked where we were going, but he ignored the question and just kept driving. His grip on the steering wheel was tight, his knuckles white. I noticed his eyes in the reflection of the windshield, unblinking, fixed on the road like he didn't even register I was there. At that point, every instinct in my body was screaming to get out. I pulled out my phone and pretended to text someone, but I was actually opening maps. My heart sank when I saw he was driving me in the opposite direction of the theater, toward a rural area with barely any houses. Dark stretches of trees lined both sides of the road. No gas stations, no traffic, just endless black. I tried to play it cool and said, "Hey, I forgot. My roommate's expecting me soon. Can you turn around?" He didn't answer, just kept staring ahead. That's when I reached for the door handle. He must have noticed because suddenly he slammed the locks down and said, "You're not going anywhere yet." His voice was low, calm, but the way he said it made the air in the car feel heavy, suffocating. Panic shot through me. I looked down and realized the window crank was missing. I couldn't roll it down. My fingertips brushed the bare metal where the crank should have been, like he had ripped it out on purpose. I had one option. At the next red light, I yanked up the lock and threw the door open. I bolted out and ran toward a nearby gas station. I didn't even look back. By the time I got inside and told the cashier to call the cops, the guy's car was gone. His Tinder profile disappeared the next day like he'd never existed. To this day, I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't gotten out of that car when I did. I was using Tinder casually, mostly just looking for people to hang out with. That's when I matched with this girl named Dana. She was funny, easy to talk to, and eventually invited me to her apartment to watch a movie. When I got there, everything seemed fine. She offered me a drink, and we sat down on the couch. The movie started, and we were just talking, laughing, everything normal. But then, while she went to the kitchen, I noticed something strange. On the shelf across the room was a stuffed teddy bear, but its eyes looked wrong. Like one of them had a tiny lens in it. I leaned in closer and realized it was a camera. My stomach dropped. I scanned the room, each step of my breath loud in the quiet. There was another camera in the smoke detector above, and another wedged between some books. My mind raced. Every laugh, every gesture from before suddenly felt staged, rehearsed. When she returned with drinks, I tried to act casual, but my hands were trembling just slightly, and I had to press them against my knees to stop them from shaking. I forced a smile, clearing my throat. "Hey, why do you have cameras in here?" Her face went pale. She hesitated, her eyes darting away for a fraction of a second. She stammered, then said, "Oh, those are just security." But the way she said it didn't convince me. I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. My instincts screamed at me to leave. I mumbled something about needing to head out early. She didn't argue. She just smiled faintly, a little too sweetly. "Maybe next time we'll hang out longer," she said. As soon as I got outside, I checked my phone notifications. My AirDrop was on. And sure enough, there was a file request sitting there. Titled with my own name, I didn't accept it. I shut off my phone and drove home, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every shadow on the road made me jump. The next morning, I went to check her Tinder profile, and it was gone. Like she'd vanished. I still don't know whether she was recording me for herself or someone else, but I'll never forget that sinking pit in my stomach. The moment I realized I wasn't on a date, I was being watched. Dating apps make it easy to meet strangers. With just a swipe, anyone can step into your life. But the truth is, you never really know who's on the other side of that screen. The stories you've just heard aren't just cautionary tales. They're stark reminders that behind every profile picture could be a secret, a motive, or even a threat. No matter how comfortable things feel, always trust your instincts. Never ignore the red flags, no matter how small. Because sometimes, that Tinder match isn't looking for love, they're looking for prey.